radio.com a través de la grande. Sigue siendo grande 305 Mi Radio TV. Dímelo, Sergio, ¿cómo te sientes hoy?
Muy buenas noches, muy buenas noches. Muy buenas noches. Good night, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us here tonight. Another great evening, Thursday. And let's just get in some meat and potatoes here on what's been occurring in our country. It's been a lot of things going on that we all need to be aware of, that we need to pay attention to, we need to be educated on. Last Sunday, one of the candidates, Leonel Fernandez, went to the border and basically did a speech before the country, not as a politician, but as a Dominican, and just touching on about the subject and the issue with Haiti and what they're going through. I think it was very admirable. I think it's something that should have occurred before. I think that all of the leaders should have participated in that. He went by himself. I think it's also a good touch. It shows humbleness, and that's great. That's great. Touching about some other areas that we have to address. Well, somebody mentioned to me about the government and losing faith in the government and how there's a lack of trust in the Dominican government. And I understand that. I understand that. That's nothing new, really. We're talking about a country that have had a bunch of corruption just in the elections, not including in the way they operate, right? So how do we address this? We address this by our vote. Remember, we put these people into power. We put these people into their seat. We empower them to do what they want to do. So as a community, as a country, as a nation, as a people, it's our responsibility to make sure that we hold them accountable. How do we hold them accountable? We hold them accountable by keeping them in office or not. We have to let them know that them being in the seat and being in government is not a blank check to do as they wish, as they want with our country and with the goods of it. We have to hold them accountable. And that's why we have elections every 4 years, right? Both in the Dominican Republic and here in the United States of America, we have an elections to make sure they are held accountable. We don't like what they do. It's time to move them out the way and have somebody else. We have to hold them to their words, what they promise. It's checks and balances. And so this is why we're here. This is why you have a bunch of people on the Spanish networks and social media just constantly talking about these things, because it's important. It's very important that we take part in our national elections. You know, we have elections in 39 days in Dominican Republic, May 19th. If you don't have your cédula, go and get it. Go to your consulado, your in Junta Central, and get your cédula. I would run and get that. So on May 19th, May 19th is a Sunday. Elections in the Dominican Republic is always on Sundays. Go out and vote, and make sure you take that. Make sure you do your part for your country. And we can do it from the United States of America. That's wonderful. We have that honor. We have that blessings that we can do that. So we should take advantage of that. Let's not let that, pass just because. We should participate in our country's election. We should participate in who sits in that seat, so we can stop complaining about what is happening and who's stealing and who's not stealing. If you understand somebody's a crook, make it your business to go and vote against them so they don't stay in power or go into power. I think it makes sense, right? So that's something that we have going on in 39 days. Speaking about the powers that be, there was a survey done, and in this new survey that puts Abinader at a 38.2% on top, and a Leonel at a 36%, 36.3 to be exact, and Abel Martinez 19%. So those numbers that everybody's been pushing, 68%, 70%, that's flaws. I would go as far as to say that when you see all the measures of social media and the news are all pushing these numbers, that's nearly impossible. It doesn't matter how good a president is. It's very rare that you see a vast majority of the population going that route. You have always more than a handful of people who are unhappy. So it doesn't matter how good the president is. Before an election, you're not gonna get those. That's rare. That doesn't happen unless there's something going on, right? So when you see all this occurring, and when you listen to the radio and the news, and they're all preaching the same thing. They're all talking about just one superpower, right? They're just talking about how one person is going to sweep and is going to get all the votes. There's a problem there. When you ask me, that gives me something to be afraid of. Because when you look at some of these other nations, they're kind of going into somewhat of a Venezuela kind of way, communistic, government. So we have to be careful with that. I don't think that as a country is ever a good idea for 100% vote for one individual. That's too much power for a president. That's just too much power. So I think it's important that everybody go out and vote. That being said, I was talking with a friend of mine, and he was talking about Espaillat, right? Roque Espaillat, Ramfis Trujillo. There's a big amount of people who talk about Ramfis Trujillo. I think the Ramfis idea stems from how far crime has gone in Dominican Republic, and people seem to forget the actual history of the grandfather. It's something that needs to be understood, needs to be taught. When people are not aware of your history, it's almost always going to come back around because they're ignorant to it, and people have to be aware of the history. And Trujillo, he was a man who ruled with fist. He was a person who ruled with fear. He was a person who the country was what it was. It wasn't because the outstanding individuals everywhere you went. No, it was because of a great amount of fear that they had in the dictator, the totalitarian government that we had, right? So we have to be educated in that area. Ramfis alone has his share of issues that you need to do your homework on. Don't think it's quite ready at this moment to be in the platform that he's on. Roque Espaillat is another individual that did an interview a couple days ago where he made a statement about another candidate that if he sees him in the street, he's going to cut him up. That is not presidential communication. That's not how a president, expresses himself. It's just not appropriate. When this is the leader of our country, the president is that person who represents us wherever we go as Dominicans. We have Biden. He represents the United States of America. Abinader represents the Dominican Republic as we speak. So when these individuals go to any part of the world, they represent that country. So we have to keep that in mind. And that being said, you cannot go on the air as a candidate for office and say that you're going to slap around or cut up or whatever, threaten another candidate. That's unprofessional. It's unbecoming of a president. So we have to be careful with these individuals because they're showing their colors. They're showing their lack of discipline. They're showing just a lack of respect for the seat and for their community and for their people. Because if you as the head, if this is how you're talking, you can't expect any less from the community, right? So it goes to show also for all these people who are voting for him and voting for some of these candidates, you have to do your homework. And I get it. In my case, I tend to go for the lesser evil, right? So the person who I believe is going to do more, has done more for the country, the person who has shown, we got to look at these things. So what platform do you run on? Well, I'm going to talk about this guy. That's disrespectful. I apologize. I'm going to talk about Abinader. He put people in jail for corruption. He did. What happened then? Nothing. Nothing. Was the money confiscated? Was it put back into the Dominican coffers? Were the people who were done wrong, were they made right? These things didn't happen. So what was the purpose? Was the purpose just to make a show for the people, to build your reputation and let people know that they can count on you, that you can be trusted, that you're doing things that never been done before? Well, you got to follow through on these things. And some of the things that I'm looking at that are not appropriate for our country, for democracy, is when you want to go in there and you make statements like, after I win the election, I'm going to get together with the other political parties that did not win, and we're going to talk about how to move forward. You haven't won yet. How do you make these statements? How do you say, when I win, this is an election? You can very well lose. But there's too much certainty in those statements and the way things are going that, for me, it shows where we're headed. And the ignorance of many people who are just going with the hype, going with the flow, because the masses are saying what they're getting paid for to say. We had an individual who left one of the political parties, who left the Fuerza del Pueblo, okay? And lo and behold, he left because they cut a deal with him. The deal was that he was going to get his debt forgiven as long as he went to another party. So if you tell me any individual who's in debt millions of dollars because of political activities, and then a government's going to tell me, hey, I'm going to forgive all that if you come and back me up. But you're not going to back me up directly. You got to back me up through this third party, right? Or through a movimiento. Okay, a movimiento is a subcommittee. It's a committee where people get together. It's organized. It's just not a political party. So then it's like a pact. They say, we're going to endorse so-and-so. Like United Teachers of whatever city. Or, Ask Me Union. Those are somewhat, that would be a movimiento in Dominican terms, right? So then we're going to endorse the president. So all these followers are going to follow the president because they're part of this group. So I'm a just pay off all your debt. Just go along with these people, and you're going to be good. Well, if I'm in debt and I'm not seeing a way out, you know what? That's too tempting. And by the way things are going, why am I not going to go? Why wouldn't I do that? You know what? I'm going to just go ahead and take my chances. Personally, I think it's, it says something about your character. But nonetheless, I guess I can get it. I guess, depending his situation and depending, I guess, I understand where he's coming from. I can't say I necessarily agree with it, but I understand why he would do it. Again, not saying I will agree with that. I'm not saying that's something I would do. Nonetheless, this happened, right? So, and then we have another party from El PRM who got arrested for narcotic. So, people, we don't see a problem here. This is the nature of our politicians. This is the people that we're backing. These are the people we're listening to. These are the people that we're saying they're good for office. These are the people that we're electing. And then we're saying, well, it's all new blood. People, these are all new bloods that are doing this. Okay? So these are new bloods that are being educated by, I don't know what. Because their behavior is not appropriate for government or represent a people, and represent a people who are lacking in education, who are lacking in medical, who are lacking in food, and there's a great amount of people who are lacking in our daily needs. So we got to do better. We got to do better. We have to encourage our relatives in Santo Domingo to get educated, to focus on their education. Those young people, you know, who, and let me tell you something, is my understanding, is of my opinion, that Santo Domingo has a very good educational system. When you have Dominicans in grade school and high school or even college and they transfer into the United States, they're so far advanced from what Americans are. I can say that. I've had relatives who move here in grade school, middle school, high school, and even college, and they come in, don't even speak the language, but advanced in math and social studies, and just have a language barrier. But once they get that language, they just run strides around the normal person here. So what stops individuals from reaching that pinnacle is the lack of finances. What affects them is the daily rituals that we have to eat. So you can't go to school, son. You got to go, you know, help me work, because we have to pay bills, and that's a responsibility. You know, you got to go work la tierra bien de campo, because we got to eat. You know, this is part of our life. So I understand that. But when we here and we travel there, you know, we put a lot of emphasis on how we look and what we do and having a blast, and our families and our relatives and those that we call our friends and are kind of falling behind, right? So when we get there, we sometimes tend to want to feel the need to break them off because we're there. So we have to do something, go a little bit further. We have to go a little bit further. How do you go further? Again, by electing people in power that are going to help. How we move forward. If you can sponsor a relative and put them in school, and it's easier said than done, I get it, because our life here is not always the easiest. We have a bunch of responsibilities here too, but you know, sending school materials that help them, you know, help them go into a private school if possible, because it's important. We have a nation that is kind of going by the wayside, and I'm not demeaning my country, but 15 years ago, we didn't have sicarios. And when we look at these things, what causes people to do these things is the need. When people need, they rob, they steal. They don't do things let me reframe that. They do things they wouldn't normally do because they have a need. They have dreams that they don't see they're ever going to get. So it's easier making that dollar by ripping somebody off with a gun or something. So how do we help them? Well, we got to help them with doing better. When we go there, be a better example. Life in the United States of America is not in a walk up in the park like a lot of people make it seem. Dollar is not grown on a tree. We got to work hard here. Most individuals understand that life in the United States of America is that of sacrifice, hard work, learning. You have to get educated in something. You have to work hard, and you have to put in that time. So if we do that here, it's the same thing there. And we're in a better position here to help those there. So why we can't always do it financially, but we could do it in acts, right? We can do it by our vote. We can do it by, you know, the examples that we place. Because the people there, you always hear people saying, hey, no, because los Estados Unidos, así. Yeah, not necessarily. You know, there's a lot that we have to work on here as well. But because we're here and we're better off than those there, we can help them. And we need to. I don't make anything easier for my relatives there in forms of I live on top of the world. No, they're going to get the real truth. You have to work. I've had to work hard. I've had to work a lot of hours. I had to work hours without pay. I have to sacrifice. It's just part of the deal. So this is how we help our people. You know, we have to, and I'm going a bit off topic, but we have a problem also, even in entertainment industry in our country. Something as simple as our music, right? So our music is merengue. It's like our number one music is merengue. What merengueros do we have left? There's new up and coming. What kind of music are we listening to? And that's okay, dembow and all that. That's great, wonderful. But that's not our essence. That's not our essence. We always have to kind of be connected to the root, right? I believe that. So when we have a nation that doesn't honor our history, people are not educated about, you know, who Trujillo was, what he did, and a great amount are, but most individuals, I'll have to say, you go out and ask questions, they'll say, oh, he was a bad guy, but they don't know the details of him, right? Who is Dr. Joaquin Balaguer? Who is Peña Gómez? Who is Juan Bo? These are individuals who played a role in our history. These are all individuals who played important roles in our history. Some good, some bad, but they all played a role that everybody must and should be educated on. So when you get rhetoric from we're racist, which is like huge right now, right? Because we're racist. We're not racist. We're the first country to ever aid Haiti anytime they're in dire straits, right? How can we be racist when we have hundreds and thousands of Haitians in the Dominican Republic? When we have a huge amount of our own population. I'm not a white guy. So how are we racist? What foundation is that set? And then you have people on social media, Dominicans, going back and playing on that because we make a statement that, oh, I'm not black, I'm Dominican. Let's understand what that means. Okay, we're not talking about skin complexion. We're talking about nationality. Okay, I'm Dominican. I'm from the Dominican Republic. My ancestors are not from here. Yes, I get it. Oh, we all come from Africa. Woohoo, we understand that, but that's not the point being made. Let's be a little bit more. Let's just be a little bit more grounded in that level if we can, right? Europeans will say, "Oh, I'm from Europe." Okay. Oh, you born there? Yeah, I was born there. Okay, so that's a European, right? If you speak with somebody who's a second generation American, oh, they'll say I'm second generation American. My parents were born in New York, and my grandparents were born in France. Okay, so that's an American. If you ask a Cuban person, okay, where you from? He's gonna say I'm Cuban. He white. His skin complexion white, but he's gonna say he Cuban. Why? Because his family are Cuba. They're there, or his parents are from there, so they consider themselves Cuban. It's as simple as that. So why all the big deal with a Dominican who says, "Oh, I'm not black, I'm Dominican"? Why? Because my skin complexion may be black, but I am Dominican. I'm literally born there, or my parents are born there, so I'm Dominican. Where's the offense, and why is there an offense over that? There's no need to be offended over that. We got to respect everybody. You can't ask an African person, say, "Oh, you black?" No, he's gonna say, "I'm African," because he's from Africa. It's the same deal, and I'm not trying to get into all that too much. Just making a clarification, giving my opinion. You like it, you like it. If not, you do your own show. That's all right. We all have the right to express ourselves and feel how we want to feel, right? So that's just some of the things that we need to do better on, and we need to be able to express ourselves and do it respectfully. And we just have ways to go as a people, and as Dominicans, I think we have come a long way. Our country has come a long way, and we cannot allow that circumstances continue to bring us back. We cannot allow to let the government hit back in time. We have to hold these individuals accountable to what they do and what they say they're going to do. And we have to get educated. We have to go back in some areas concerning our culture. We have to hold on to it. We have to nourish it again. We have to start bringing it back to life. We need to go back and start producing good music. And there's a bunch of musicians out there who are just not being pushed to the limelight that make excellent music, nice classical merengues and things you can dance to, and respectful as well. There's a time and a place for everything. There's a place to be barrial and there's a place to be classy. You know what I'm saying? So we have to be able to do that. You can't be a nation that's gone so far that everything is okay. No, we have to know how to act. We're not savages. Santo Domingo is one of the Latin countries that is most up to date on everything. Like they say we're third. I don't see how we're third world. Maybe in our politics, but when you go there, there's nothing that we need to envy anybody over. Dominican Republic literally has everything. Everything. Anything and everything you see in the United States, you go there and you see it too. We have social class issues. I get it. Social class issues comes from what? A lack of education. People don't get educated, therefore they can't produce. They can't land good jobs because they're not educated. So the foundation is education, right? So this is what we have to work on. This is what we have to focus on. This is what we have to push people on. And we have to make sure our government and those in power and those to come start doing something towards that. Not trying to come into power, okay, going back to Abinader, and trying to get elected and change the Constitution so he could get a third time on the seat. Okay, because yes, that's something else he's trying to do. He's trying to change the Constitution. So instead of 2 terms, it'll go back to the way it used to be. Do we really want Abinader for 12 years like we had Balaguer for 12 years? Do we want that? 22 years the same president? That's a dictatorship. We can't have that. We have come long ways from that, so we can't go there. We have to change this now. And you, buddy, have not done your part. Give me a chance. We gave you a chance. We gave you a chance. And you didn't meet the expectations that you set, that you were going to do. So it's holding you accountable to your words. You said you're going to do some things. No, we have not seen it. So you want another 4 years to prove that. Why would I want to do that? I just don't see that happening. Not from my state, at least. We allow everybody else to make their opinion. But that's why May 19th is important. So everybody can go out there and express their thought. So everybody can go out there and just do what they have to do and express their vote. We need to work on our country. We need to work on our families. We need to work and educate those people home. And we in the United States of America, who are Dominicans, have to do our part, because everybody back there are looking at us here, and they're looking at us here like we're on top of the world, right? Not necessarily. We're not, but that's how they look at us. So that being the case, we have to do our part and not just, ride the wave of glory every time we go there and act like we're on top, because that's not the case. I wish you all have a good evening. God bless you. Take care.